Breaking news tonight, a lead suspect in the fast food murders is behind bars.
Paul Dennis Reid is the most notorious serial killer in Tennessee history.
I'm certain that I am not the trigger man.
He was pure evil.
It was obvious Nashville had a Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy running around killing people.
There is a crazed killer on the loose, and what's going to happen next?
I see the guy with a gun. He shoot the other people. He point the gun to my front head. I was thinking, I'm gonna die.
He pulled a gun. Told me, said, you're gonna do what I tell you to do. His ultimate goal was to kill my family, make me open the safe, and kill me dead. I was not gonna let him in the house with my family. I would die for my family.
Let's say I am the killer. And I still want you to be able to socialize. Well, I'm not trying to evade your question. I'm trying to be exactly honest with you.
You understand, if we didn't have the evidence, you wouldn't be in that chair right now.
I am Jose Gonzalez, and I survived a serial killer. In 1997, I was almost 30 years old. I was living in Nashville, Tennessee. I came to Nashville from Los Angeles to work with my brothers and cousins in construction. While I was waiting for work in construction, a couple blocks away where we live, it was a McDonald's, and I started working with in the restaurant. It was a nighttime shift, 3 to close. March 23rd, 1997, there were 4 people there. The manager, Ronald, Andrea, Robert, and I. That night, we were cleaning all the store, leaving everything ready for the next day. When we were done, I just heard the manager telling me in Spanish to go home. So you are going to your car. I'm not gonna let you and Robert go to their cars, and I'm gonna stay here at the door with Andrea to lock the doors. So I start walking to the outside. The manager and Andrea, they were at the door. While I was walking outside behind Robert, I see the guy with a gun. When I see the gun, I was scared. Yeah, I just see the guy moving the gun, like telling us to go back to the store. Robert and I, we start walking back to the store. He came in behind us with the gun. He asked us to go to the office where the money was, and so we start walking there. After that, I see the manager trying to open the safe, and I just see him like sweating and obviously scared. When he put the money in a bag, I was thinking about this guy is gonna get the money and leave. But he didn't. He was giving directions to the back room, so I followed the guys to the stock room. The room was dark. I remember I see the manager, Ronald, he was next to me, and Andrea was crying. When I got the job, I knew they were attacked another fast food restaurants, but I wasn't scared. Now, I was scared.
2 months before the attack at McDonald's, on January 20th of 1997, we had a case involving Shoney's. The manager that came in to open that morning didn't find anything unusual until she got back to the office in the back where she found the night shift manager, Charles Thowett, brutally stabbed to death. There was a floor safe and it was open and a decent amount of cash was taken, pushing the $2,000 mark. So we looked at robbery, but Mr. Thowett was stabbed 52 times, which would suggest it could have been a crime of passion. We had VHS type cameras in the establishment. Unfortunately, there was no videotape in the machine. And we found out the person that committed the crime, they took Mr. Thowett's car. And his car was found a few blocks up the street in a parking lot. It was pulled straight in front where a camera was pointing, but they didn't have the machine on either. We started canvassing the neighborhood, looking for anyone that possibly may have seen anything during that time of night.
Unfortunately, no leads were developed, no evidence, no fingerprints, nothing to enable the police to make an arrest.
We kind of felt like we were at a dead end.
It was dark, and I remember I see the manager, Ronald, he was next to me, and the guy told us to lay on the ground. I just see them laying down on the ground with the face down when he shoot the manager twice. And after that, he went to a robber and he shot him. Then he shot him right up. And I just see the lighting of the shot. And after that, he came to me. I wasn't face down. I was looking at him. And he pointed the gun to my front head. And I was going back to all my life and all the past. And that's when he pulled the trigger. But nothing happened. And he started clicking it 4 or 5 times.
The gun malfunctioned or was out of bullets, whatever might have been the case. And Mr. Gonzalez took that opportunity to fight for his life.
I was thinking do something quick, and I just grabbed the gun, and we were fighting. But it wasn't for too long, because when we were fighting, I just felt something on my ribs and on my left side. I knew it was a knife. After that, I was unable to do anything. And I felt one more and stabbing on the same side and the other 2 on the other side. He started stabbing me in the back of my head. And on my face, he threw me to the ground. And after that, he stabbed me 3 times in my back.
The knife went completely through the inside of the chest wall.
I feel the air coming out from my stabs. I was thinking about, I'm gonna die. After he stabbed me again and again, that's when I feel the air coming out from my stabs. I was thinking about play dead. I just hold my breath to let him know I wasn't breathing and nothing. I was in the ground, and I just see the manager's face right next to me, and I was actually my face and all his blood. I was afraid to move. So I was thinking if the guy was behind me still there.
One month before the murders at McDonald's, a double homicide occurred during a robbery at a Captain D's restaurant in Nashville.
On the morning of February 16th, Steve Hampton was set to open the store. And along with him was Sarah Jackson, who was only 16. And another employee came along, couldn't get into the store, saw that the chairs were still stacked on the table. That's not like Steve. He is ready, in a minute to open up, early actually. So eventually the police were called to do a welfare check.
Steve Hampton and Sarah Jackson were found in the freezer, face down. Both of them had multiple gunshot wounds to the head and to the back. It appeared to have been a motive of robbery. There was money missing. One employee specifically spoke about a man coming in the night before.
And this guy asked, "Are you hiring?" And the guy said, "Well, we don't know. You'll need to talk to Steve Hampton, the manager. When does he come in?" "He comes in the morning."
He appeared to be wearing a Shoney's uniform. They described the suspect being a tall man, I believe with a ponytail, but the height was what was really stood out, like 6'2". So there was a composite drawing done of this person and put out on the news. And then within days of this investigation, ID of Steve Hampton was found on Ellington Parkway. That evidence did produce a fingerprint, and obviously that was put in the system, but nobody was spit out at the time.
I was laying down and trying to not make any noise. I don't know for how long, but I just hear a door shut, and I just turned my head and I didn't see him anymore. That's when I was thinking about what the telephone was. And I started crawling to the office. I was looking for the phone and I didn't see it. I was feeling tired. While I was on the ground, I just see a wire. And I just pull it, and it comes right next to me. It was the phone. "Hey, dial 911. I just said, "I need a doctor." I start hearing noises outside. I hear the ambulance. I hear the noise when they break in the glass door to get into the store. When they came in, it was probably a few people there, but they don't went to the room where I was. They went to the other room with the other guys. So I was just waiting for them to come in to see me. And they came back and they see me in the ground. That's when I start moving my feet. That way they noticed I was alive.
I think that there was some higher power looking out over Jose Gonzalez, because by all rights, he would have been the fourth victim. He suffered tremendous injuries.
2 days later, when I woke up, I was in the hospital. I was in pain. I had 1, 2, 3, 4 surgeries. My lungs, my face, my head, my finger. Someone was calling my name, like saying, "Jose, Jose." But I was unable to talk. But obviously I started moving, or I did something, because The person who was calling my name, he said, Jose, don't move. You cannot talk, just move your fingers if you listen to me. So I just moved a finger. He said, I'm a detective for police in Nashville, and we want to talk to you.
When I first seen Jose at the hospital bed, we didn't really know if he would really make it. Didn't know what happened to his coworkers. I told him, no one survived but you. I told him we were trying to apprehend this person and the information and the cooperation that we really needed from him, and he definitely appeared to be confused, frightened.
I was feeling scared because I knew he was in the streets and I expect something else to happen.
After the McDonald's homicide on March 23rd, we started relating that homicide with the Captain D's and the Shoney's because they're all fast food. Young people are involved. We have knives, we have guns, we have robbery. Now, we had 6 people deceased from these robbery murders and 1 surviving victim. It was obvious we had a serial killer running around killing people.
The Nashville area is on high alert after a slew of robbery homicides at local fast food restaurants.
It was obvious Nashville had a Ted Bundy or John Wayne Gacy, and that we had a serial killer running around killing people.
Because this individual was hitting fast food restaurants, the media dubbed him the fast food killer.
With McDonald's, we had a live witness. So the primary focus at that point in the investigation was having Jose Gonzalez be interviewed and provide a sketch of the perpetrator. And that sketch was run in the papers and the TVs and all the media everywhere. And once Jose was able to, he looked through many mugshots and photo books looking for the person.
They started showing me pictures, books of pictures. They probably showed me 500 pictures, 600. I never see them.
We were working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We were staking out restaurants. We had help from the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and the police chief put extra patrolmen in the area, driving up and down the streets and checking on the restaurants. We set up a hotline that generated 1,200 leads. It was nonstop.
The community itself was in an uproar.
Businesses were closing early and having extra security. There is a crazed killer on the loose, and what's going to happen next?
One month after the McDonald's homicide, we received a call from the Clarksville Police Department, about 40 miles away from Nashville, that they had 2 girls missing from a Baskin Robbins.
2 women were Angela Holmes, who was 21 years old, and Michelle Mace, who was 16.
Michelle's brother shows up at the Baskins, and he thinks, okay, this is strange because nobody is there. And he tries the door and it's open. So he very cautiously walks into the store. The girls' purses are there. The floor safe has been pulled out of the floor. He calls Angie's husband, who comes down immediately to the store, and they call the police.
I jumped in a car and drove straight up there. When we arrived at the store, looked pretty much like a typical robbery. There was no blood, there was nothing in the store that at that point in time made us feel like it may have been connected. But less than an hour later, we got called to Dunbar Cave State Park, not too many miles from the Baskin Robbins. At that location, one victim was found up in a wooded area. The other victim was found down at the water's edge, partially in the water. Both their throats had been brutally cut.
The police were connecting Baskin Robbins to Captain D's and to McDonald's because the robbery was in the evening after close. The money was gone. The safe was left open.
The police efforts were already at an unbelievably high level, but you can imagine this now became a multi-county collaboration and hunt for a killer who, it seemed, was not going to stop until he was caught. This was all hands on deck, asking for the public's help to report anything unusual that they may have seen. So tips came in.
Somebody observed a red car around the Baskin Robbins, would have been around the time that the girls came up missing. And another person saw a red car around Dunbar Cave State Park. So Clarksville Police Department put out a bolo looking for if anybody knew anything about a red car in that area during that time.
Approximately a month, perhaps a little bit longer after the Baskin Robbins, the perpetrator made one more attack.
I'm Mitch Roberts, and I survived the serial killer. In 1997, I was 46 years old, and I worked for Shoney's. I was the general manager of one of the busiest units in Nashville, close to the airport. I was aware that recently there'd been attacks at other fast food restaurants. I had some of my customers who would ask me questions about if we had heard anything or how the investigation was going. A lot of policemen came and ate with me, so we kind of kept current on what was going on. But we were such a high traffic area, it never occurred to me that we possibly could be a target. I lived about 25 miles outside of Nashville in a rural area, and it was quiet 95% of the time. If you didn't know where I lived, you wouldn't be able to find my house. On June 1st, 1997, I was waiting to go to bed. And I was on the couch with my wife and my daughter and my son. We were watching a little TV, and my son was playing with our video camera. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was a knock on the door. When I heard the knock at the door, I looked, and the man at the door was a cook for me at Shoney's. His name was Paul Dennis Reid.
Paul Dennis Reid, he came from Texas, and he actually came to Nashville to be a country music singer.
He was going to be the next Garth Brooks, is what he told people. Well, he looks the part. He's got expensive boots, big fancy cowboy hat, guitar, and he even made audio tapes of himself singing.
She couldn't be mine, love to be a lady. I'm gonna find love coming on
He couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. As far as being a country music singer, that was delusions of grandeur. Paul had a temper, bad temper. He had gotten mad on the cook's line and frisbeed a plate, and it hit one of my dishwashers. I fired him. on the spot. For Paul to show up on a Sunday night about the time I'm ready for bed was, yes, it was a shock. But we can let him in. And I said, Paul, what's the purpose of your call? And he said, well, I wanted to see if you'd give me my job back. And about that time, my wife interrupted me and said, could I speak to you just a second in the other room? And I walked in the other room, my wife, and she said, something's weird about that guy. You need to get rid of him. So I went back out in the living area, and I said, Paul, it's kind of late. Why don't you come by tomorrow and we'll talk about your job then. So I kind of led him towards the door and he walked out. And when we got out on the porch, he told me that he could prove to me someone was stealing from the restaurant. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, let me show you. So we started walking down to the car, which is probably 75 to 100 feet from my front door. And the red car was sitting in my driveway. So I started adding 2 and 2, and it came up 4. That was the red car the news had been talking about and the police had been talking about. This was the person they were looking for in the fast food murders. And so I kind of felt funny, but I just went along with it. I said, well, you need to give me a call tomorrow and we'll go through this and I'll see about your job. So I turned and started to walk away. And he ran around in front of me and pulled a gun and said, told me, said, you're gonna do what I tell you to do. And he handed me a pair of handcuffs. And I said, Paul, if this is a joke, it's not funny. And he said, it's not a joke. There's 2 guys behind your house that'll shoot you if you don't do what I tell you. His ultimate goal, I felt like, was to handcuff me in the car, go back in the house, kill my family, come back and get me, take me to work, make me open the safe and kill me there. I instantly started thinking, how do I get out of this? What can I do? I was not going to let him in the house with my family. I would die for my family. Paul had begun, and he handed me a pair of handcuffs. He told me that he had 2 guys behind the house with him that would shoot me if I didn't do what he said. I was nervous. So I started talking to him like I was still his boss. And I turned and walked away from him again. And he just followed me up to the porch. I turned around and he had a gun in one hand and a knife in the other. And I said, Paul, what is it you need? And he said, well, if you're not gonna give me my job back, I need some money. So there was a front door that he expected me to pull open. But he didn't expect me to pull open and turn and hit him. I hit him and I backed in the doorway and held the door to keep him from pulling it open. I told my wife, I said, hand me the gun, it's laying right there. Well, there wasn't a gun laying right there, but he bought it and left. Then we got the door locked, called the local police. I told him, you need to come to the house. There's been a guy trying to break in, and this is the serial killer they're looking for in Nashville. They came out and was talking to me and interviewing me, and the phone rang. It was Paul on the phone. He was wanting to apologize. Tell me he's sorry we had words on the porch, and he hoped I'd, forget about it and give him his job back. I was shocked. I didn't expect to hear from him again. But that's when I thought, let me see if I can help the police catch him. I told him, I said, Paul, you scared us. You need to talk to me before tomorrow. You need to come back out here. We need to talk about this tonight. And so he said, okay.
He's thinking, Mitch is going to give me my job back because I'm such a wonderful employee. I'm going to get rehired and I'll have money again.
He came back to the house. And when he came back, I had 6 police officers waiting for him. The police came out from behind brick walls and bushes. They had automatic weapons, shotguns. And he didn't anticipate that, and he knew instantly that he didn't have a place to go. So he just put his hands up and gave up.
The Cheatham County officers there took him into custody.
In breaking news tonight, a lead suspect in the fast food murders is behind bars.
Then the connections started to click. Once Paul Reid was captured and he had found out about his history, that he had gone to prison in Texas for robbery. There had been witnesses who had testified.
He was convicted of armed robbery in 1984, and he was paroled with early release in 1990. When he left the Texas prison system, he had said, "Next time, I won't leave witnesses."
He put in an application at Shoney's. I interviewed him and hired him. When I said anything to him, it was always, yes, sir, no, sir. Very respectful. Until he got mad the day at Shoney's and threw the plate and hit the dishwasher. I'd never seen that side of him in the several months that he had worked for me. He had been down in the area where I live, been to several stores, asked questions about me, and if they knew me and where I lived. He didn't do anything quickly or spontaneously as much as he thought about it and planned it, premeditated, if you will. He was smarter than they gave him credit for. He knew how to get out of things. He knew how to cover his tracks. He was still working for me when he was doing these crimes.
I remember getting Jose, called him up and I said, listen, we've got someone of interest that is very important that you come and help us out. Let me go pick you up. We'll go to the murder squad headquarters.
I got the phone call to go to the police station. They told me that they got a few pictures that way I can look at him and see if he's someone I can recognize. They bring 6 pictures.
When Jose looked at the photo lineup, he started sweating and trembling and even stained the paper with his sweat.
I just got, scared for a moment. I just see him right there.
Jose was holding the photo lineup in his hands, and he picked Paul Reid out as the suspect.
When they told me that they got him, I was happy for the families of the other people who died.
We brought Paul Dennis Reid back to Nashville, and we sat down with him in an interview room and attempted to get him to tell us what happened.
certain that you have nothing that you want to say as far as the crime scenes on either Captain D's or the crime scene on McDonald's or anything in between?
I can positively confirm that to you.
We tried multiple different ways to get him to talk. Good cop, bad cop.
I mean, just in general, you're an intelligent person.
That's a good man. You ought to come. I apologize. I appreciate it.
Paul Reid did refer to himself in the third person.
Oh, Lord, this is crazy. I mean, why would they do this to Paul Reid? And they really think in their minds, I did this and I did that. That is silly.
And he started making some odd statements.
I am under 24-hour government surveillance. I mean, every verbal word is under a monitoring device.
He made statements like, I wasn't the trigger man.
I want you to make absolutely no misjudgment that I'm certain that I am not the trigger man. I'm trying to be exactly honest with you that I did not pull the trigger.
He never actually said he committed the homicides, but Jose Gonzalez picked him out of a photo lineup, and his fingerprints matched to the prints on the cards that belonged to Steve Hampton. Searches were done of his house, of his car. In that red car, there was evidence that matched at least one of the girls from Baskin Robbins. I don't have a doubt in my mind that he committed the murder and the robbery of Mr. Thowett, but we were never able to link him to the Shoney's case.
They never convicted him of what he did to me. I didn't have to go through that trial, thank goodness. They had enough evidence, fingerprints, and other evidence to connect him to the 3 other cases that they had.
The motive was a pure and simple greed of someone who cared nothing at all about human life and only cared about the money.
Paul Reid ended up having 3 trials. The Captain D's trial, Baskin Robbins, and the last trial was the McDonald's trial.
I testified in trial.
Gonzalez showed jurors his stab wounds, described to jurors how Reid shot the victims in the Hermitage McDonald's, and then tried to kill him with a knife.
It was hard. I was afraid to see him right there in front of me, but I was sitting in the witness chair, and I pointed at him.
I'll ask you if you would, Mr. Gonzalez, would you stand up and see if you see the individual that you described as being in the restaurant that night?
Who's that?
That's him.
And the naranja.
The one in orange. Let the record reflect you did identify the defendant.
So reflective.
Is that a face you will ever forget?
¿Es alguna cara que usted nunca se va a olvidar? Claro que no, nunca se me olvidaría.
He will never be forgotten.
The eyewitness testimony of Mr. Gonzalez, in my opinion, was the key in the McDonald's trial.
Se acercó a mí y me apuntó a la cabeza y yo lo estaba mirando.
He approached me and he pointed the gun at my head.
The defense tried to poke holes. Just say at the end of the day, the jury should have that reasonable doubt, but 3 different juries each found the evidence in each case was sufficient to convict him of every crime that he was charged with. And he received a total of 7 death sentences, 1 for each victim. He was the only person in Tennessee to have received 7 death sentences. That's about twice as many as anyone else currently on our death row.
Paul Dennis Reid, he was a loser, he was a punk. These were just your average American people working hard, and he took their lives in such a cold-blooded fashion.
If he would have never been caught, he would have continued to kill.
When I thought about Paul being the serial killer, that was surreal. That someone that worked for me could do that. I don't think he had a soul or a conscience. He was mean to the core.
Paul Reid spent a few years on death row. During that time, he got sick, and on November 1st of 2013, he died.
He died from pneumonia. That was way too easy a death for him compared to what he put these other victims through and the suffering that they went through. I met Jose at the trial. He knew who I was, and I knew who he was. I can't imagine the terror that he went through. It had to be overwhelming. Overwhelming. I respect him a lot.
It was sad to see the families, the people who died that day, crying sometimes in the courtroom. So being a survivor is big to me. I got the opportunity to be here for them. Today, I live in Nashua, New Hampshire with my daughter and my wife, and I work in construction in Boston.
I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world. By all rights, if I hadn't been so lucky, I wouldn't be here today. My family wouldn't be here today. He meant harm to all of us. Not a week goes by that I don't think about how lucky I am to be here.